Burnout is incredibly common, and it's something that is making people fried at the end of their work days. This can be a combination of things: notification overload, fake productivity, and that always on mentality at work. But with what you can control, there is some helpful ways to approach burnout and slow your productivity across a day. Today's video is brought to you by Granola, a great way to take meeting notes without having the stress in the background. It's my go-to meeting tool, and you can find it linked below with 3 months free. Check it out there. So whilst I was away, I read a book called Slow Productivity by Cal Newport, and the common theme throughout the book was about trying to pace yourself, try and do things a lot slower, a lot calmer. That's always harder said than done. So I always find apps help me to regulate that type of thing. So I'm going to help you go through a few apps that you can practically install to get started. And I'll include loads of alternatives as well in the link in the description, and all the apps mentioned will be below there. So the first app to get is a notification/focus guard. If you're finding that notifications are bombarding and controlling how you work, then having something like this might be a great approach. For example, at 7 o'clock, my phone tends to do a little bit of shut off on times of time limiting apps, which is incredibly helpful. At least you'll introduce some friction between accessing more apps. But there are actually apps that help you to reduce social media intake across a day. For example, Opal is an incredibly good one. I used it for several months and found it to be really effective. It also has a great reward dopamine system in it to help you to see how productive you've been. There are other applications like OneSec, and many devices like Android and iOS both have these systems installed as a basic blocker. There's also another one called Limit, which is by the folks who created Freedom, that's available on iOS too. It's incredibly high rated and well worth checking out. So another common trap of burnout is realistic planning. Sometimes we don't actually plan realistically for the hours that we have in the working day. I've been guilty of this myself. So there are a couple of apps that can help you do that by tracking how much time you spend on them. Sunsama is a fantastic option in this list, primarily because it helps to set your working hours up, does guided planning with you, and then stops you when it gets to a certain point when you've completed your working hours. This is important because it stops you from overcommitting. There are other applications as well like this. I'll include them more in the link in the description. This concept of overscheduling yourself is so common, and it's something that I actually enforced in an application that I made called Bento. That's the perfect segue to the next section of apps: deep work timers. I believe these are going to start to make a comeback in a world of AI. When everything's distracting us, when we can do absolutely anything we want, is what we can focus our time on that matters. And in order to focus, some people find timers effective. So there are a multitude of applications that can help with that. But I believe there are a subset of them that are calming and effective. There are 3 apps I'd recommend. My own app called Bento. The second app would be called Focus Traveler. It's a great one if you want to see the progress of your character going up the hill as you set the timer. And finally, there's one called Portal. Portal is a really attractive application because it uses music to make you feel more intense in the moment when trying to focus. So category 4 is called email blockers. Now, there are loads of different email blockers out there. There are some that help filter your inbox like Fixer and Superhuman. Those are great tools, but are slightly more expensive. And there are other options like SaneBox, which help filter your emails in the background. All of these apps are really effective. They help you to do things like unsubscribe and take away the clutter of your inbox, but also give you focus on what priorities matter. Your email you interact with so many different times a day. It's great when you find an app that helps to reduce that workload that's coming in. So next category is the brain dump category. There are things that crop up in your day all the time. For example, for me, I have loads of ideas, links I want to save, and so much more that just comes into my brain, and even when I'm on a computer, and I just find that totally overwhelming. So I use Notion to help save things using the web clipper, and sometimes I use Todoist to capture any links or tasks into the inbox to capture what matters. There are loads of different apps like this. There's even an app called Drafts, which is great at helping you to save all of that into different apps that matter most to you. But capturing all this stuff so you're not absorbing it in the moment is one of the great ways to really reduce that overload across a workday, because all of these little small things that you absorb add up. And finally, there are loads of different apps that are going to help you to relax in the evening. In particular, meditation and sleep are incredibly good ways to help you prepare for the day ahead. I quite like these science-backed applications that can help you to use sound to be more productive. There are apps like Brain FM, but I use an app called Endel. Endel is a really good application because it helps use your location, your heart rate, and more context about you to create a soundscape around how you're focusing or relaxing or sleeping. So it's well worth considering sound-based applications to help regulate you for the day ahead. So we looked at focus guards to protect you from overload and distractions during the day. We looked at realistic planning applications, deep work timers, email boundary tools, as well as brain dumpers and sound-based applications. And I'd highly recommend checking all of those out in the link in the description. Burnout's only going to get worse in the world of AI as we can do more, and our natural instinct is to be more competitive in the workplace. So being able to embrace effective ways to improve your approach to burnout is only going to help you. So thanks very much for stopping by today. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. We've got more videos, more tools, more resources that can help you to do more and get more done whilst respecting your time. Thank you very much for stopping by, and I'll see you very soon. Cheerio.